You're listening to Inside Real Estate, your source for all things mortgage and real estate related. The show that brings you all the hottest topics and insights directly from those who know it most. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to Inside Real Estate. You got myself, Paul Apostolakis, Brad Weisgerber, Salvatore Kuzmano. Welcome back to another episode of our show. For those of you that are finding us for the first time, thank you. Please like, share, subscribe. You can find us on irepodcast.com. You can go to Facebook.com/IRE podcast. You can find us on YouTube. You can also find us on any podcast app that you should show so pleased to use. Jesus.
That was a mouthful.
Yeah, I can't say it.
Don't even try again.
I'm not even going to try. No. So for those of you that are listening, please like, share, subscribe. It helps us out a lot. Leave us a review. Salvatore Kuzmano, Brad Weisgerber, how's the market right now, man? I know it's crazy. We've got a special guest, obviously, but before we get into that, I know that we had like 10 offers go out over the weekend. Not one of them got accepted. Pretty rough market out there, huh, Sal?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's just, the inventory is really low. There's no short supply of buyers still looking to buy. So I guess we'll just see what happens over the next 30, 60, 90 days, right? And hopefully a lot more sellers kind of get off the fence. But, it's also that time of year, and we just had a quote unquote major storm, which wasn't really a storm, but, people kind of bunkered down and probably didn't want to go out this past weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I'm really interested to see what Stacey Taylor, she's been on the show before. She's from Quest Realty. She's been named Hour Detroit All-Star for many years. She's also been on HGTV's Lakefront Bargain Hunt. So without further ado, let's bring out Stacey Taylor and talk to her about this crazy market we're in. What's up, Stacey?
Hey guys, how are you?
Good, very good. So yeah, we were talking before the show that we had all these offers go out over the weekend. Not one of them got accepted. The ones that were accepted were pretty crazy. Are you seeing the same thing, Stacey?
Absolutely. I think I've wrote 12 or 13 since Thursday.
Wow.
And I've gotten 2 accepted.
Wow.
And they're crazy, great offers.
They are even the ones that you're putting out there. Yeah, that's the thing. We're putting out good offers. It's just they're getting beat. What are they getting beat by, Stacey? What are these offers look like?
Man, I don't even know. One of them in particular was cash.
Yeah.
And in that one, we waived our inspection, fully waived the appraisal. We were $50,000 over asking price, and we still lost it to cash.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I think what we're seeing, especially like in this case, it was a ranch. And I think what we have is like this older population that has the ability to maybe liquidate investments or something so they can be a temporary cash buyer.
Yeah.
And they're just decimating everyone else. You can't compete with that.
No, cash offers are hard to compete with because they close so quickly. That's the point, right? Is because they're going to close quickly. You have a lot less contingencies. You don't have the mortgage you got to deal with, right? That's the whole point, right, Stacey?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And we're being creative. I'm even starting to see almost like what we call like a reverse concession or something where buyers are paying seller closing costs and, on top of appraisal guarantees and, free occupancy, and still not enough. It's like, what else can we give? A puppy, a kidney,
Right. So going into the spring, the big thing is right now is inventory. Inventory's low. There's no way around it, especially here in Metro Detroit. We're having a huge inventory issue. Would you agree with that?
Oh, for sure. And, I know I probably have half a dozen sellers that, that they will sell, but they've got to find something. And they're afraid to put their house up because we know it'll sell right away. And they're just not in positions to go to temporary housing. And there's not even rentals out there right now. Find a decent rental, it's outrageous. And you still can't. People are paying for a year in advance of a lease, so
right.
It's tough out there.
It's really tough. So the getting your house, you have people that want to list, but again, because of the supply issue, they're terrified, right? Yeah. They're terrified to list the house because it's going to sell quick and they're going to be homeless.
Yeah. I've got a couple clients I've done this with, and it's messy. I don't love doing it, but we're almost doing, like in the old days, you would do a contingency where, you could write an offer contingent upon the seller's house closing. Well, you forget that. That's not going to happen now. But we're almost doing like a reverse where we put the seller's house on the market with language that it's contingent upon them getting a home under contract within 30 days. But they're messy transactions. Like I'm in the middle of one right now. And, you're just nervous because if you're not careful, someone's going to end up with nowhere to go. It's really tricky.
Yeah, it is tricky.
I had one of those in January that got accepted last January.
Yeah.
Not 2022, 2021. We closed in December 2022 or 2021. So it literally went on 11 months with that seller looking for a home, and they just kept extending and extending and extending. And
11 months.
In the end, it fell through, and we found ended up getting a different home.
Yeah, I mean,
like months they missed out.
The one that I just did had language. Well, so I've done it twice. I've had the seller and the buyer recently, but I add language that we have 30 days to try to find something, and then after that 30 days, either party can declare it void. But at that point, I mean, when you have the buyer, you're now out the inspection and the appraisal because we can't not move forward with that because what if the buyer backed out at that point? So, I mean, it's not an ideal situation at all.
I mean, as a buyer, you don't want to back out of that because you found the house that you love, right? You want to buy it and you're willing to wait for it because you found a house, you got it under contract. That's like 90% of the battle these days. Right. So you're willing to sit it out, man. It's rough.
Well, and last year, it kind of worked out where like rates didn't rise, right? But this year it's like you lock something up in January at 2.875 and you're waiting for the seller to find a home. I mean, as a lender, that's kind of wouldn't be smart to lock probably until the seller got through the inspection of their home, right? And now the rate went up a full %, So it's shifty waters out there.
Shifty waters.
That's a great point about the rate lock. Like I actually have a similar situation like that going on. And, it was costing them almost $900 to keep extending every couple of weeks. And well, what do? Do you walk away and start over? I mean, it's just not ideal. We need to get some more inventory out there.
Yeah, the inventory problem is going to keep it getting exasperated, I think, with the demand that we have, because the demand isn't slowing down. Stacey, would you agree? Like you're still seeing pre-approvals. You're still seeing people having the appetite to want to buy houses right now.
100%. I mean, like I've got buyers for days, and I tend to be pretty 50-50 with buyers and sellers. And I almost have more buyers than I can get into houses right now because there's just nothing out there.
Right.
But yeah, the rates aren't slowing buyers down yet. But I think a lot of them, everything kind of lags behind from the consumer perspective.
Sure.
So I think a lot of these buyers don't realize, from when they first started talking about looking maybe like October, November to now, that, their buying power has just drastically decreased. They don't realize this yet.
Yeah, they've lost $100, $200 a month in payment. Right, with rates going up as much as they have, depending on the loan amount and the deal that you're looking at. Yeah, full percentage and interest rate hike does cause some issues when you're talking about payment. But to your point, I don't think it's going to deter buyers in this spring. I think buyers are still going to be their appetite is still there because I think real estate at 4% is still a good deal.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
Right,
it might
even
shed
at 4%.
Some buyers, but the pool is big enough where it doesn't matter. Right. If there's 20 buyers for every home listed, which probably, there's probably 50 buyers for every home listed, 50 pre-approved people for every home available. Right.
Yeah. For sure.
Okay. If 5 of them drop out,
who cares? Yeah, exactly. Someone in my office was telling me that they wrote on something. I think it was like Livonia maybe. And they had over 60 offers. Like, I don't even know, how do you present 60 offers? It's crazy.
Yeah, we had a property in St. Clair Shores here in Michigan that, two of our loan officers had 2 competing offers going in at the same property, right? It's like, and neither of them got picked.
Right. Oh yeah.
I once had 3 of my clients write different offers for one home.
I've had to do that too. And I just tell them.
I don't want to tell them, but I'm like, bro, I don't even want to write this. Yeah, like it's gonna get smoked. But it's difficult. It's crazy out there, and when everything's so local and you're working in like a small area, you really get to kind of see oh, wow, so-and-so's got that listing. It's going live this weekend. Trying to get every single in you can to, if you got a buyer who might be interested, right? I mean, it's like, it really does, I feel like, help to have a network locally right now and really have good rapport with agents and reputation because, that's sometimes what puts deals together.
It's funny that you say that. I literally got a call an hour ago that I got an offer accepted. And that was what he said. We were not the highest or the best, but he said that, he'd never heard of the other agent. Their communication was poor. They actually took the key out of the lockbox at their showing. Yeah. I mean, you're 100% right. And I tell agents that all the time, like, don't be a jerk. I don't care how good you are or how knowledgeable you think you are. Like, handle every aspect professionally because you don't know when you're going to need that in. And network, just don't be a jerk.
Yeah. If you're a jerk in this environment, you're going to get jerked back, really. You know what I mean? You really can't. You're going to get jerked back because, Sal, to your point, having a good network is really important. Absolutely. How do you build your network, Stacey? Because you do have a very good network.
I'm kind of in a position, my kids are grown, so pretty much all I do is work and go to a lot of events. Like I have a group of ladies, we're all from different companies. We jokingly call ourselves like the secret MLS or something, but we meet every now and then and, we have drinks, of course.
Yeah.
And, we bounce ideas off each other. So then maybe next month I write an offer, on a listing that someone from their office has, so then they can put in a good word for me. Now that only goes so far. Like you can't write a crummy offer and expect your relationship to coast you through. But I mean, it just never hurts. I go to everything I possibly can. I volunteer a lot, and that you get to know people, and you never know when those relationships will pay off for sure.
Right. What are you suggesting your buyers do right now to get offers accepted? I mean, are there, you know what I mean? Like, like I remember when I got my offer accepted, there were 17 or 20 offers on the house that I had bought. We wrote a letter. We did a whole bunch of other stuff. Are you suggesting that like the whole kit and caboodle? I mean, or does it even matter right now?
I do. So I have a document called a buyer power checklist. And I did not invent this. I got the idea from another podcast that I was listening to last summer. And I just kind of tweaked it to make sense for our area. But basically, like I list everything we could do. And, I used to give it to my clients when they were ready to write an offer. And then I realized it doesn't really work. They're excited, especially in first-time buyers. And I'm throwing out words like escalation clause, appraisal guarantee. And, they're just like, what? So I give it to them when I first meet, at either a first appointment or a buyer consultation. I give them this handout and then I will remind them to go back and actually read it because they don't.
Right.
And I said, the more of those things that we can include, the better. And sometimes we do all of it. And sometimes, they're in a position where they can't do any. But, I just explain the more of these items we can hit upon, the stronger our offer.
That's interesting. So you've got a whole checklist that you go through. Yeah. That's awesome. That adds value.
I hope so, and it's funny because most of them don't read it, and I laugh because every now and then though, like I have a little folder I give them, and I have a couple of clients that come to every showing with their folder, and they're usually like the engineers or something, that mindset, and they're taking notes. And then I have the ones where I know they literally throw it in the back seat of their car, by the diaper bag, and they've never thought twice about it.
Yeah.
But I try to give them the tools so that we set an expectation, right up front that this is going to be a little bit different of a process than it would have been a couple of years ago.
Do you ever have to sometimes just really ask them bluntly, like, how bad do you want this house? We know there's other offers. I got some feelers. Like, you're going to probably be underwater on this thing.
And it's funny that you say that because I just had a conversation yesterday with a listing agent. We didn't get this offer in Novi. And she told me, she said, we were number one until this offer came in at the 11th hour. And she said, it's so high that it doesn't make any sense. And the agent, she looked her up and didn't have a lot of experience. But she said, it's so wildly over where it should be. And they waived everything. They waived inspection, waived appraisal. So it's going to go through. And, her and I were talking, and it really is a disservice because, first of all, they're going to be underwater. And secondly, now they've just adjusted the comps in this entire condo complex in Novi. So the next seller is going to think they can do better than that. And if we keep with this, overinflated pricing, I mean, that's just going to, help push us toward that collapse a little bit. I mean, I don't think we'll ever have what happened before, but it's prices can't keep going up like that, especially, condos, you have a pretty good idea of, where they're going to come in. And I mean, they were about 30,000 over every other offer.
Wow.
In like a $300,000 complex, and everyone was already way over. So, I mean, now what happens is we have this comp that doesn't make any sense, but that's going to be the benchmark for everyone else.
Right. Well, I mean, they potentially have 10% negative equity in the house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right. Like, because they're going over 10%.
Well, really, and we were already over. Everyone else was already over about that much. So they went another 30 over the best offer, which was me. So they're like 22% over value.
Wow.
I mean, it's just crazy.
Wow. And that's going to exacerbate the issue as far as affordability, because these houses are going for so much more. That next unit, like you said, they're going to be selling at that price point, and they might get it because another unit just sold for that.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. So this increase in values, I don't think is slowing down in 2022 because of this supply demand issue that we're seeing.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. So for listing your home right now, are you suggesting your people list right now? Is this a good time to list, or are you saying wait till the spring?
Oh man, no, it is a fantastic time because you've got no competition out there.
Right. Right.
I had a house a couple weeks ago in Shelby Township, and it was a tri-level, which is like pretty much like the least desirable floor plan. Maybe only a bi-level would be worse. Normally they just don't move. And we had, I think, 17 offers on it, all well over asking price on a tri-level. I mean, that's just unheard of. But there was nothing out there in that price point, nothing. And so sellers can pretty much get everything they want right now. It's a fantastic time to list.
Right now. Yeah. If you have the ability right now is a really good time to list, because tell me why it's better than potentially the spring.
Well, you always have those people that waited until the spring, so you're going to have more competition. Right now in almost every price point, there's only a couple houses out there, especially the decent ones.
Right.
So, I mean, I think if you put together a good product to go to market, you take care of like the punch list items I suggest, we have professional photos, advanced marketing. You should sit back and collect offers, and I don't ever underprice my listings to do that. I price them where they should be in a normal market. And I tell my clients, if we do our job right, we will have multiple offers, and you do sometimes see those people that aim for the stars right off the bat, and they do sit. And what happens is, you see a house that's been in the market for, a week or two, we automatically assume something's wrong with it, which is such a crazy
in today's market. Yeah. A week's too late. Like you're like, what happened?
Exactly. Like the same thought process we would have in the past for like a 90-day, days on market.
Right.
We see 10 and we're like, oh my God, there's something wrong with it. The seller's unreasonable. The house smells like cat pee. Something. Yeah. So it's probably more important now than ever to price exactly correct, because if you don't, you will end up getting less.
Yeah, there's a community of people out there that do for sale by owners too right now, right? Like they just assume that because the market's hot, they can sell their house on their own. It's a nightmare on our end whenever we get a for sale by owner. But we
I have one today.
You did?
Yeah, I'm doing one, and I helped them and told them full disclosure, I'm not a realtor, right? So don't come back to me here, right? But like help them put together a PA. They did an inspection. The seller came down $20,000, blah blah blah, concessions. All right, cool. We'll order the appraisal. The appraiser, before even finishing it, says, hey, there's black mold all over the house. The flooring's missing. Like, none of this was told to me, but a listing agent would be like, hey, we can't list this.
Yeah.
These have to be taken care of. And now this deal, unless the seller fixes all these items, is going to blow up.
It's going to blow up. Yeah.
We're not going to be able to close it. So
that's why having an agent is so important.
And you know what? This guy's probably letting this house go for $20,000, $30,000 less than he could get for it.
Yeah.
Probably, right? Because it's not marketed correctly. It's not set up correctly, Stacey, right?
For sure. Again, trying to save, because almost always you still end up paying a buyer's agent. So trying to save 3 or 4% almost always backfires. I mean, it is rare that it doesn't.
Right.
Right now, I mean, just to have the multiple showings and multiple offers, which then drives up the offers where you start getting those terms of limited appraisal or limited inspections, waived inspections, appraisal guarantees. For sale by owners lose all that, I mean, most of the time. So let's say that 3 or 4% you just saved, you just cost yourself 15%, in another month. So
yeah,
and someone does all that for you. You actually have to work,
yeah,
as a seller to like communicate and do this and do that. And it's like, man, just have someone do it for you.
Yeah.
Right. Even if you're not the same.
Yeah. Even if you're not the same, you at least it was done professionally.
I agree.
Right.
100%.
So yeah, for sale by owners are tough. I mean, it can happen, but it unless you've got some experience doing it, I don't suggest it whatsoever. Get yourself a professional like Stacey, because like Stacey's looking at everything that, if you're not going to accept an FHA buyer, if there's things that are messed up in like chipping paint, right? Like, you just know that innately.
Yes. 100%.
Right. So what do you say to buyers right now that are just starting out? Like, how do you, hey, I'm a buyer. I'm just starting out. I don't know what's going on in the market. How do you get these people prepared for the war that's going to ensue?
It's tough. And I feel bad because they're excited, and it's good to step back sometimes and remember, the excitement of this process. And, like last year I had just a crazy busy year. And I kind of forgot that a little bit. You get so busy running to the next fire to put out, you forget about the process a little bit. And so now that I am a little slower, it is really good to dive back into that with my clients. And I just met some new buyers yesterday, and we did have that discussion that, your parents are going to be in your ear telling you, that's too much to pay or that's crazy. And I just explained that, they have to trust me, as their professional, just like they would their CPA or their attorney or something, trust me in this process and I will get them to the finish line.
Right.
But I definitely do foreshadow that don't fall in love with the house. It may take several offers before we get there, and try not to get emotionally attached.
That's
probably the hardest part for buyers.
That's the hard part. I'm a new buyer. I can't do all these escalation clauses, and I'm not really in a position to do a appraisal waiver guarantee. Right. I see a house, I fall in love with it. I think I am pre-approved for a mortgage. I can get it, and then I get beat out.
Yeah.
Right. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah. I mean, then, prior to the last few years, the hard part was just getting pre-approved,
Right.
That's it. Well, that's the easy part now, now it's all the rest of it. That's
right. Are you seeing lending guidelines like help, like they've been the same for a while, but they are pretty loose. I think overall you can buy a house really with 3.5% down, but that's not getting accepted right now.
No. And, and it's funny because I just had that conversation, they're 3% buyers. And they said, well, if our offer is good, what difference does it make how much we're putting down? And so to try to get them to understand, when a seller has 5 or 6 really good similar offers, something has to tip the scale. And maybe like you said, it's the relationship with the, the buyer's agent, or they know the lender, or they know the lender and they don't like the lender. There's a couple of big names out there that sometimes it hurts you if that's, your pre-approval.
Yeah.
And, no names, but, or it just, it's just weird. Sometimes the listing agents are funny about what, how they present things even, but, buyers have a hard time understanding, hey, if the bank says, hey, I can borrow this money, what difference does it make if I'm putting 3% or 20? But from a listing agent perspective, we have to pick one.
You have to pick one.
And down to that,
it does come down to it. No, regardless of like whether it matters or not, it does come down to that. Yeah. And that's something a lot of buyers don't get. They're just assuming.
It doesn't matter till it does, right?
Right.
Shortage of an appraisal, something, inspection happens. Well, if the guy's got 3% versus the guy who has 20, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I try to explain is that, it's just the ability, the faith to know, okay, this buyer is a little stronger. Maybe they have some more reserves, higher credit. They've got a little more going for them. But that's a bitter pill for a young first-time buyer. It really is. It's not their fault, Yeah.
I think assets talk a lot more than loan type or whatever in this market, right? I mean, to a degree. I mean, if you had a 3% conventional versus a 50% FHA, right? I mean, okay, you may pick the conventional, but that FHA buyer has a chance.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, in that case, I'd take that FHA all day long.
Right.
And that's actually a really good point. And it's one of the things that I do, and, you know, I'm happy to share is, unless my clients really don't have any extra money, but if they have some reserves, even if they don't plan on necessarily using them, but they, you know, maybe it's an investment account, I will ask them to give me a copy of that. And I submit, you know, like a proof of their ability or strength along with their pre-approval, you know, with their permission, of course. But, you know, that's just, again, part of putting everything in this nice package, and the bow on the top, you know, is whatever we can throw in. Maybe we also pay the seller transfer tax or something, you know, whatever else we can do just to tip the scales. Because sometimes there are several offers with appraisal waivers, you know, so you got to do something else. We've got to think outside the box a little bit.
Yeah, you got to put your best foot forward, you know, because you get one shot. So, like when I talk to a buyer who's like, I don't know if I want to spend all that money, you know, rates, especially last year, it's like rates are 2.75, right? Yeah. And it's like, yeah, I get it, but you have the ability to put 30% down, so you should write it like that. And if you want, you know, after appraisal or whatever, you want to put 5% down, I mean, at that point, I guess who cares, right?
Yeah, I do that also.
Yeah, but put your best foot forward. I mean, if you got 5%, don't put 20% down on your offer. But
exactly, but if you can do the other way, absolutely.
Yeah. So what's your plan for this going into the spring? Now that you have all these buyers kind of waiting, I mean, are you a lot of wine? Yeah.
So I'm looking to maybe bring on a buyer agent, maybe a buyer agent / some admin marketing. You know, last year, you know, on average, I probably worked about 70 hours a week for most of the year.
Wow.
I'm getting too old. So I'm looking maybe to grow a little bit. And that way I think I can bring more value, you know, at the end of the day by doing that, because, you know, I can't keep being a one-man band.
No, I mean, we did a lot of units last year,
you know, with my clients and stuff. But that's my goal. I mean, just to try to get in the houses first, write as strong and clean of offers as we can. And, you know, just keep on going. You know, I wish I could come up with one more idea that, you know, no one else is doing in this market yet. But I got nothing. You know, I don't know if you guys are seeing anything cool and creative.
Not really. No, I mean, I have not. Sal, are you seeing anything creative that's like out of the box that you?
I mean, this is just above. This is above loans, right? This problem. It's just, hey, I have something so white hot, right? Who's going to pay the most and/or give me the most secure offer? Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's it.
I think they're, to a degree, you know, as a borrower, right? You're somewhat limited, or you're not in the top echelon. That would be cash, right? So basically, I would say, tell your buyer maybe if they could borrow some money from parents, right? That might actually help. I've had a lot of people who we end up doing a cash out refi for after they buy cash, right? Parents have money or whatever, and mind you can't pay that back necessarily with the cash out refi, but okay, in 6 months, roll the dice, but you want to maybe pay 20 grand less for a house and/or get the house you actually want, right? If you have the ability to do so, or borrow from your 401k or something like that, where you can do it cash, we'll take care of you with a refi later.
What I'm hearing really is liquidity is key right now. I mean, if liquidity is key, if you're liquid, whether or not you're putting 20% down or adding escalation clauses or adding appraisal waiver guarantees or paying for the transfer taxes, it's all liquidity, right? Do people have the liquid funds to do that? And borrowing money isn't outside of the realm of possibility, right? So,
well, to a degree, I think in most markets, but at this point, right, if you were presenting offers to your seller, Stacey, and you had listed a home at 300 and you have a 300 cash closing a week versus a 330 full appraisal guarantee mortgage closing 30 days, I mean, I think waiting 2 more weeks for 30 G's is worth it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and there are definitely times where I've beaten out cash for sure.
Yeah.
Well, everyone thinks they're going to get a deal cash.
Yeah. And you're not. You know, I've got a client right now that's putting about 50% down, in like the $500,000 space, and we're getting beat out, by people putting less down, but they're writing better offers. And we're just not quite there yet where they're willing to do some of the things that we're going to need to do. They haven't found quite that house to go, fully aggressive on. But cash is king to a certain extent. But sellers are savvy, and they want that money at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, if I was selling my house and someone has solid pre-approval, that was a lot higher. I mean, how much is your time per day to wait? Right? I don't think, an extra 30 grand or whatever. I don't think you're above that.
Yeah. But do you find, Stacey, that listing agents want the cash offer because they want to get in and out of the deal quicker?
There are some, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's, any good market brings out really bad agents. Like, everyone wants to be a realtor, and they don't realize, I think the failure rate's like, I don't even know what it is, but it's high. Like a huge percentage are not in the business after a couple of years. But right now, you can just be the biggest idiot ever, and you can just start stepping on deals practically. So they get something here or there, their cousin's house, or they have a little business, but man, they don't know what they're doing. And so you're right. There's been a couple where I have the buyer, and I sit back and I just think, like, if this was an experienced agent, this never would have worked.
Right.
But
yeah,
it's a tough time to be a loan officer or a buyer's agent right now. You know what I mean? Like, you have rising rates. So basically, for the most part, a huge percentage of the refis are gone. And, you could have a billion pre-approvals, but until that market shifts, you're starving, know? So hopefully you saved.
Yeah, and to that point, one thing, and this is not a paid promotion of Omega Lending, but one thing I really like is, last weekend, as a matter of fact, I got a message from Amanda and Paul saying that they were available this weekend if I needed pre-approvals, if I needed anything. And that's huge, because I can tell you most lenders aren't, so the fact that a lender is willing to be available outside of bankers' hours is huge. And, for realtors, I would say, align yourself with a couple really good lenders. It will pay off,
I think a lot of lenders got the mentality kind of almost like a seller's mentality when the rates were that low. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like, all right, well, I could walk into a bar, restaurant, whatever it is, and make 30 grand by just talking to a few people. Right. What's your rate? 3.5. Let's go. I'll save you. Right. And now it's like, I'm sure every listing, buyers, whatever agent's phone is getting blown up by loan officers who are basically, bagging bologna sandwiches for lunch, because it's going to be tough.
What is it? Let me ask you guys that actually. So why is that that happens in the winter? Is it just because you're slower too? Like, I'll be honest. I've had a couple where I've saved them in my phone, like do not answer. And there's these some, and I'm very honest, and I say, I've got a couple really key partners I recommend, and I don't have any need to recommend anymore right now. I'll save your information. I'll reach out later, and they call the next week. Can we meet for coffee? And I appreciate the hustle. Right. I don't want to keep saying it every week, So, do you guys get a list or something like this time of year of realtor rankings or because I've never the last 2 years.
You can pull things like that.
We can pull it. We can pull stuff like that, and there are lists that people go off of for sure. And you're pretty popular on social media, Stacey. So you're probably getting calls just from that because people are seeing you on the social media.
The thing is their pipeline looks like the Exxon Valdez. It's split open and basically empty. So it's tough. I truly think that this quarter is going to be the hardest quarter for most mortgage companies. Officers, if you got stock in mortgage companies, when those Q1 earnings come out, you better dump them before, probably, right? Because the amount of staff needed to process all those refis and purchases, right? Everyone's bloated, right? It's just not sustainable unless for some reason rates come back down. But it's going to be it's gonna be tough. And I think, to your point, right? Having the experience and whatnot, there's probably a lot of buyer's agents running around burning gas, showing all these homes when they have no shot at getting a deal accepted. Yeah. Or they're not willing to tell their client who's like, oh, I'm going to get a deal, that no, you're not. Right. You're not going to get a deal. right? So
Right.
all the time it's funny. Yeah, we're looking at this house. It's listed at 300. We think we're going to get it at like 250. I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Good luck.
On Zillow, 6 hours.
Yeah, I probably lost
250 saves
because of that. Sometimes we'll go look at one. I know we don't have a chance, especially in the beginning. If anything, it's a teaching tool, because then I can say like the next day, okay, this is now highest and best offers. So you thought it was worth less than this. They have multiple offers, meaning, that when it's multiple offers, the list price becomes the floor, not the ceiling, essentially. Don't even think about going under that.
Right.
And but I do have those clients where I'll just say, we don't, this doesn't fit our criteria. We need to focus on other houses, just because I can't I can't drive around, with useless appointments. And it's not,
Right.
especially, with COVID, it's not even safe. It's not even the ethical thing to do. And it's not right to these buyers, because you're setting an expectation that's not realistic for them. Sometimes they do have to see a couple, sometimes they have to lose a couple to learn, but I agree. But you're right. There's agents that'll show anything. They're just so happy to have a client. And at the end of the day, they're just losing money left and right. Like you said, gas, time.
Yeah. I feel like this market brings out some bad habits that it exasperates it, because like a loan officer will write a bad pre-approval all day long. It's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, they're pre-approved, they're money, they're perfect. Ultimately, they don't have the money for the down payment, right? And it's hard because loan officers don't want to tell the agent, hey, they need to do X or Y and Z, because the agent wants to take them out and find them a house.
Yeah.
But if any part of the link is broken during that time period, you can go find a house all you want, but if they're not really pre-approved, what's the point?
Exactly.
Pre-approving and or getting a new buyer doesn't mean a closing.
No.
Right? Like there's a lot of steps in between, and I think that's the difference, right?
Actually, that's a really good point too. And then I need to make a note actually about that for my checklist. But I've also been trying to encourage my clients, instead of being pre-approved, especially while we're out there getting beat up, get fully approved. Go as far as you can, so that we can say, we are not pre-approved or pre-qualified. We are approved. All we need is a purchase agreement and an appraisal.
Yeah.
And that helps a little bit, when I can say, and the lender can also chime in, hey, we have already reviewed all assets, income documents. They are good to go. So that's a little bit of an edge to have as well.
Yeah. It's every little inch kind of helps, right? Yeah. But yeah, every little inch helps.
Yeah. And to the point that I always tell buyers, it's like, yeah, I'm going to ask for everything, right? But you're going to have to provide it to me, to anyone else at some point anyway. So why not get it out of the way so you can focus on the home and not taking on the biggest debt of your life?
Right.
Now, what are you guys?
Don't focus on that.
Yeah.
Do you see some like more attractive rates or programs with like these longer arms? I just kind of started hearing about that, like a 10-year or a 15-year arm, where it is it's getting the rate back to where it was maybe a month or so ago. Are you seeing that more and more?
They're better. Like an ARM is better than a 30-year in this market.
Right.
But the shorter the ARM term, the better the rate, because essentially that's less risk for whoever's hedging that money, right? They're going to, in 5 years, maybe be able to take advantage of a higher rate.
Right. Yeah. I saw one the other day, a 15-year. I didn't even know that was out there.
Yeah.
I don't know how great the rate was, but it was a 15-year, and then it adjusted every 6 months after that.
Wow, that's an interesting product.
It makes sense. Most
Who
buyers, especially.
Yeah, no, 15 years is a long time.
I couldn't tell you how many people I've refied last year when it was like, all right, we're going to be here, we're going to be here 5 years minimum. Okay, this refi makes sense for you, right? We did it. And then they're calling me now, hey, we want to buy a new home. And it's like, man, do an ARM. Yeah. And I think that is a good point, because right now, like ARM rates, I would say the 30-year rate right now is like 3.875, maybe 3.75, depending on the lender. And the ARM's probably like 3.5, 3.75 on a 5-year ARM. So
you're going to see that get more interesting as fixed rates go up. You're going to see ARMs get more and more attractive, because that's when they really thrive, is when the 30-year fixed goes higher. So when you start seeing the 30-year fixed 4.5, creeping up at
5%.
5%.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot more 3-1 arms, 5-1 arms, 7-1 arms, and they're going to start looking a lot more attractive.
That makes me nervous. That's like shades of 2008 a little bit. I mean,
no, it's different because
at least buyers have got some investment this time, because they did give an appraisal guarantee or something, so they're not upside down to start.
Well, the 2008 arms got a bad rep because they were option arms, they were negative AM arms.
Right.
They also had prepayment penalties,
balloons. They weren't like today's traditional arm. Like those loans were set up to make you fail.
Right.
Yeah. They just work.
Yeah.
I don't.
The lending standards.
Payments, and you don't understand what the difference is. Just one's cheaper. You're going to pay the cheaper one. That's going to make your loan balance go up because you don't know.
Yeah.
But those aren't a thing anymore. So.
All right, Stacey, we want to get you back to work because I know you're really busy, but we're going to do 3 questions for you, okay?
Okay.
3 random questions. Sal, Brad, you guys got one?
What's your spirit animal?
My spirit animal, man. I don't know. I guess funny. I was just talking about this too. I'm going to say my bulldog. That stubborn, tenacious personality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bulldog for
sure.
sure.
A little offensive, whatever, but just stubborn and so yeah, I'm a bulldog.
Yeah.
You're a car person, right?
A car person?
Yeah, you're a car person. What is your dream car?
That's a funny question. My husband and I, he loves the exotics, and we don't always agree on that, but I do love, if I'm going to go exotic, I love the Italians, I love a Ferrari, but I have a C8, one of the first ones in the area, and I love that car. I mean, I'd be hard pressed to get rid of it, So
you get the Z06?
I don't have the Z06, but, and I had a Z06 before it, and I didn't like it. It was too much engine for me.
Yeah.
It really was. The first time I drove it in the rain and the whole back end came out behind it, I was done.
That was it.
That was not the car for me.
That was it. You were on HGTV, right, Stacey?
Yes.
So tell the audience one thing about the show that they don't know about.
Okay, well, I had to sign several NDAs with that. So there's some I can't say, but what I can say is that where it looks like you look at the houses all in the same day, it's not. It was 3 each house was 1 full day of shooting. So you wear the same outfit for 3 days.
Oh, is that what it was?
And it was really hard in Michigan because our weather is so different. So we filmed in the fall, and the first day we filmed, it was really hot. And so I had no sleeves, just like a thin little strap shirt. The next day it was rainy and cold. And I couldn't put on anything else. I was stuck with that.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
all right.
You do not look at 3 houses in one day, like HGTV shows.
What do you do? Buy 3 of the same things, or just essentially go home and...
I went home and did laundry every night.
That's awesome.
Are the people really like one guy counts beans, the other one's like a popsicle stick house builder, and they got like a $2 million budget, or are they like...
So mine was actually kind of interesting. Like they reached out to me on the show and asked if I had any clients that fit the parameters. So they needed to be on the lake or looking for lake access and privileges. So then I nominated some of my clients, and they chose, which one we would move forward with. So that particular show was a little bit different.
Got it.
Yeah.
Stacey, tell the audience how they can get a hold of you.
Absolutely. I'm with Quest Realty, and my cell phone number is 810-560-9857. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. And my email address is Stacey, Stacey, @questsold.com.
Yeah, I know this isn't in your wheelhouse to do this kind of stuff, so we really appreciate you doing the show with us, Stacey.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
It is now. This is what, the 3rd podcast?
It is. Yeah, I mean,
I've had you on a few times.
And you've been on TV. This is right in your wheelhouse.
I was more worried about making sure my video would work this time than I was the actual, the podcast, because the other 2 were in person.
Yeah.
I was nervous about that. In fact, I think we drank tequila.
We did drink tequila at 9 a.m. You're absolutely right. All right, Stacey. Well, listen, we appreciate you more than you know. Thank you so much for doing the show.
All right, thank you, guys. Have a great day.
All right, Stacey. Be good.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
One of the best agents right there, dude. She kills it. She really does a good job.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any substitute for hard work, especially right now.
No.
It's real easy to sit back and get deals, get listings, get buyers, whatever, get refis. But
what are you doing?
Time to fight.
Yeah, it's going to get real touchy there, and I think to your point, Sal, we're going to have a lot of loan companies kind of looking for what the next thing is. So she's getting phone calls left and right from agents. I mean, from loan officers. I'm sure a lot of other agents.
Well, everything's and I think people will see that, right? Oh, this off your closing costs, this appraisal, blah blah blah, and it's like there's not enough deals for you to sustain that. You know? So
right.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm out there for blood.
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. All
Can't
right,
do that
guys.
from the towers.
All right, guys. Well, listen, for those of you that stayed on the whole time, thank you for listening. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to not miss an episode. Please leave us a review. That helps us out a lot. Thank you for listening. Find us at irepodcast.com. Go to Facebook.com/IRE podcast to see us live. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Inside Real Estate, the nation's top real estate podcast. Don't forget to follow us at irepodcast.com and everywhere where podcasts are available.